Hello there, divine loving greetings. It's me, Alura. Welcome back. Hi everybody, it's me, Alura, and I'm glad to be back. It's been a little while, and I know. And for that, I know there's a lot of subscribers out there that are probably sitting on my channel wondering, why am I still subscribed? She doesn't even have any new content, and I'm really sorry about that, and thank you for remaining to be subscribed, as it's very helpful to me, and I don't intend to leave the channel bare forever. I've just had such a hard time getting the message out there, and I know a lot of you have heard this already, and so I'll skip over all of that and get right to the subject. So we've been hearing a lot of news reports lately, especially over this summer, about close calls with asteroids that have been getting closer and closer to Earth. And I know that a lot of people were curious to know what that meant, because it's happening so much more frequently, and it can be kind of frightening for those that are scared by things like that, wouldn't you think? When I think about an asteroid coming really close to hitting Earth, it makes me think of doomsday, and I don't want to think that, one day we're suddenly just going to get hit by this big floating rock that's coming toward us, and then that's the end, even though it very well could be, but probably not right now. With those reports of the asteroids, it really is just a part of the greater propaganda. As many of you know, we're having so many difficulties with Russia and China right now, and for that there are talks of there being possibilities of war. And when I say possibility, I use the term very lightly because that's what the news says, and for me, I know otherwise because I've foreseen a lot of the things, unfortunately, that have happened and are getting ready to happen. And so let's talk about what has been happening a lot lately, and we'll get to why this is being used as propaganda. Firstly, here in Sewell, New Jersey, where I live, there are a lot of reports of things that you wouldn't have heard a couple years ago. A lot of people say, well, Laura, crime's been happening all over the place. There's nothing new. And I'd have to agree with them, because crime has been a thing for the longest time, but not to this magnitude. I've had reports of a 15-year-old that shot a 14-year-old, a 65-year-old woman that killed her 80-year-old mother, an 80-year-old man that killed his wife and committed suicide, another man that killed his wife in his backyard right in front of their son, a daycare worker that has been abusive to the children, and the reports go on, and there's so many of them that even for me, having foreseen a lot of it, when I hear about it still, I'm like, wow, I can't believe that this is happening so much more commonly. And I think about the state of mind of humanity, and they're losing it. A lot of people are. They feel hopeless. They feel depressed. They have crazy thoughts that they don't understand or know why they're even there or where they're coming from. And then there's moments of just extreme freak out and aggression. And the sensitivity levels are, way out there too, because people are not doing so good communicating with each other anymore because of there being this separation that's happened due to social distancing. And that played into what I spoke about in my Endure Generation video some time ago. Before any of this happened, I was telling everybody they're trying to separate people in society to get you to be more isolated, even from your own family members in your home with your technology, so that there's no empathy anymore. People are just so focused here that they're not able to connect out there. And that's why it's so much easier for them to get angry and aggressive like that. And that's why I always teach my students, I say, if you're trying to walk a path of enlightenment, you have to put self to the side and step into the shoes of others always, even before you speak, because you may not be understanding the person the right way. Maybe the person doesn't know how to word themselves, or maybe it's just the way your mind is translating what they're saying. They could very well be coming off like a jerk too, but a majority of the time what you think the person meant or how you think they meant it isn't. And that's why it's always good to say, hey, wait a minute, what do you think of, what are you thinking? What is it that you mean by that? And it gives them an excellent chance to reword themselves to realize, hey, maybe I didn't say that the right way the first time. But people don't care anymore. They just jump right on top of you. And it's really disheartening because it makes you feel as though you can't work things through if there's a misunderstanding. And so with everyone being on edge, and the news reports go beyond what I just spoke of, there's news reports of this all over the world. Even with people driving their cars into homes, there's people driving their cars into other people, killing them in their car. There's people driving into other carloads of people, killing them in their car. And the list goes on and on. But most of all, there are those news reports of war. Even in New York, there was an hypothetical nuclear warfare scenario that they put out. It was a news broadcast, a public service announcement of their trying to put everyone in that scenario of what would happen if New York was a target. New Jersey came out with one too, and I'm sure others have as well.
So there's been a nuclear attack. Don't ask me how or why, just know that the big one has hit, okay? So what do we do?
This public service announcement was recently released by New York City, offering a 3-step plan on how to survive a nuclear attack.
Your friends, your family, get inside.
And it's baffled some New Yorkers.
This message is a little alarming, quite frankly. There's so many other things going on to worry about.
I think there was definitely a justified reason for it, just as a precautionary measure more than anything else. I'm scared.
On Wednesday, city officials defended the decision to produce the animated ad. They explained there is no looming threat against New York. Mayor Eric Adams denied it was an alarmist move, saying he's a big believer in better safe than sorry.
This was right after the attacks in the Ukraine, and OEM took a very proactive step to say, let's be prepared. And it doesn't mean just a nuclear attack. It's any natural disaster. Pack a bag. Know where your medicines are located. These are just smart things to do.
In a letter to Reuters, the city's emergency management department said the goal of the campaign was to keep New Yorkers informed, adding there was no direct threat to the city, but, quote, we felt it was important that we address this topic.
If you were outside after the blast...
The video was released while tensions remain high between the West and Russia over the invasion of Ukraine. Russian officials have warned countries that oppose what Moscow calls its special military operation to avoid any actions that would risk nuclear war.
Don't forget to sign up for Notify NYC.
They're doing that for a reason. And it goes back to the asteroids. It goes back to a lot of what I'm talking about in regards to people not being in the right mental place. They're really not. So if there really was going to be the possibility of war and missiles and bombs going off, they're not going to want to tell anybody because everyone's going to lose it more than they already have. And there's going to be looting, rioting. There's going to be more murder and bloodshed than there already is on a daily basis today. And so what they're doing is they're putting propaganda out there to get it into your subconscious mind. The asteroids play a big role in that because if you're hearing more and more reports of there being close calls with asteroids, when you're actually seeing something happening out there, they can blame it on that very easily. They can say, well, there was an asteroid, it's probably just the debris. Or if there is an impact, they can say, oh, it was an asteroid that hit Earth, and it wasn't that big, but it was impactful and it demolished this area, instead of telling the people what it really is. And that would keep it from getting everybody worked up to where they did react in that very violent, aggressive way, such as looting and murder and bloodshed. And so the asteroids play a role in that, and so do these public service announcements that are quite hypothetical, as they have termed it. And it plays a significant role in just trying to subconsciously prepare people's minds for what's to come. Are we going to go to war? We're going to have war. Look at what's going on with Russia and the United States. They are literally closing each other off from any kind of connection, such as trade, or even with Russia's sanctions over here, banking and etc. China is done because China has been owed a huge amount of money by the United States for so long. And there's always this riffraff going on between these three, all these very big superpowers. What happened in Ukraine really breaks my heart. Even to think about things like that have happened in the past, where innocent people have been harmed, lost their homes, even killed. It rips the heart out of my chest to hear stuff like that, because nobody deserves that. Nobody does. And I wish war wasn't a reality. I really do. But it is. And for what happened to Ukraine and the United States to get involved in that, I'm glad somebody tried to back them up and help them. But it unfortunately really did spark even more of that fire and that aggression between China and Russia with the United States as well too. And so we are looking at there being some problems to come in the future. The Angelic Herald talked about that when I mentioned a parable in the form of a prophecy where I had referenced China and Russia in animals. I was using animals and some other scenarios. I'm sure I could put the link up for you to find it. But I was trying to warn people. I'm not fear-mongering. I just want you to be aware. Just the fact that you found me so that you could hear these messages shows that heaven wants you to be aware too. Not to walk around blindly or to just turn the other cheek and ignore what's going on in the world today. You don't want to be scared. You're going to be safe. As long as you have faith and love and you're doing the very best that you can, heaven will look out for you. The whole world could fall down right around you, but you're going to be all right. I'm not saying you won't be affected at all, but the worst of the worst isn't going to happen to you because of your faith. You're going to be safe. But that doesn't mean to turn a blind eye either. And for those out there that just don't want to deal with the facts of reality and to pay attention to everything else going on around them, the superficial things of life, that's not going to help them either, because even in the Bible it says that those that adjust to the world, conform to the world, are going to find out that their own demise comes upon them unexpectedly when they least expect it. And that's in terms of not being aware, not paying attention to what you should be. You want to be positive, you want to do what's good, but you also want to know what's going on around you so that you can always be a couple of steps ahead and to prepare and keep yourself safe, as well as your loved ones. And that's all I could hope for any of you. But the asteroids definitely do play a role in hiding things and prepping the mind subconsciously of what's to come. We also have a lot of things coming in terms of solar flares, which I mentioned. There are a lot of things to come in regards to new species going extinct, and I'm going to do another Angelic Herald very, very soon. But for now, I wanted to elaborate on this topic because a lot of people are asking, why are there so many close calls with these asteroids this summer? And I said, you know what? There are a lot of them, more than there ever has been. And there's a good reason for that. They're trying to cover something up, and I've just shared that with you here today. Thanks for watching. I love you all so very much. More topics to come. I hope if you're not subscribed that you will. I humbly ask that you do. Click like and share if you feel like it. And I hope to see you again. Bye-bye.